Hey everyone, you're listening to Midlife Matters, the podcast for women parenting teens and young adults. I'm Marie, and each week I'm joined by my friends Mindy and Julie to talk about all the topics keeping women in the middle years up at night. Today we're going to be discussing marriage in the middle years. How have our relationships with our spouses changed over the course of 20, 25, even 30 years? Let's get started. Hey guys!
Hey, Marie.
Hey,
Hey, Mindy.
hello.
I'm glad we could all get together again this week.
Yes, I'm excited. I'm excited to talk to you girls.
Tell me what's been going on in your life.
I will tell you that we keep thinking that we're going to get to be able to spend some time in some snow here. However, every time we try to go, we realize we're missing some element of winter gear that we still need. And so, from moving from Tennessee to Pennsylvania, this has been a whole effort to try to get us outfitted for snow.
I bet.
And so, oh my goodness. So we have gone and I made a whole list of everything that everybody needed. So we finally have everybody has a jacket, everybody has gloves, snow gloves, not just gloves.
Not like Dollar Tree gloves.
Exactly. Yeah, it can't be the cheap stuff. Everybody has a hat. So we were going to go last weekend to this place called Camelback Mountain because they have snow tubing. And I was like, oh, the boys would love that. Bryce and I would love that. This will be so fun. Then I start thinking, well, what pants are we going to wear? Well, we can't wear jeans.
Right.
Well, we don't, I can't wear my leggings that I feel like I wear all the time.
Right.
So we couldn't go because we didn't have pants.
And that stuff's expensive. I know it's,
It
and you
is.
don't want to spend a lot because you know they'll outgrow it.
I know. Yeah, that's what Bryce said. He said, I don't know why we're going to buy them pants. They won't fit them again in a year. I'm like, yeah, but what are they going to wear to go snow tubing
Go
and
to a
skiing?
consignment store up there. I bet they have that kind of
So
You know, you had that one blizzard. Have you had pretty consistent snow?
we have not, but there are places within an hour
Okay.
that have. We were going to kind of take it slow. And like I said, obviously we're adjusting to being in a completely different climate. So
Right.
just trying to get outfitted has just been such an ordeal.
Oh, I
And it
bet.
is extremely expensive.
Yes. Well, I can
So,
remember when we moved here for the first few years, we had enough snow gear for the occasional snow day that we get. But then
Mhm.
gradually, even with handing the snow gear down, we outgrew
Right.
all of it. And now we do the southern thing with like bags and the sneakers.
Yes.
But you can't do that in Pennsylvania.
No. No, not at all. I mean, we would just scoot by in Tennessee. The boys wear shorts throughout the whole winter.
Right.
If they went to play in the snow, it wasn't for long enough, to
Yeah.
really have an issue. There was certainly no skiing or snow tubing.
Right.
So,
Well, I'm kind of running in here to record this today because I've been messing around with Isaac's car. I posted on our Instagram page last week that he totaled his car, less than
yes.
3 months of driving, a car that we had anticipated lasting through college, totaled it in a parking lot, which is not what you expect at all. I mean, I was thinking the kid drives to school, to work, and like to get gas, and he totaled it getting gas. Like it was just very, very unlucky. So this whole week has just been dealing with insurance and deciding what other vehicle we can get. We did end up getting another vehicle, and it
Mhm.
needed quite a bit of maintenance. And this morning I took it to get 2 new tires and just the rigmarole of trying to get outfitted back for out on the
Oh,
road because it is nice when they can drive. I mean, it's kind of
yes.
easy to say, "Oh, well, just don't get him another car for a while," but even after 3 months, we had kind of learned to depend on him driving himself to work, driving himself to
Mhm.
basketball. It's really hard to give up that freedom. I'm sure that we'll be talking about teenagers and financial woes at some point, but definitely
Oh,
the driving
yes.
years are very expensive.
Oh, they
yes.
are. They absolutely are.
Julie, what's going on in your world?
Well, speaking of expenses, we've had a lot of repairs, it seems like lately. And today, right now, have somebody out fixing our invisible fence.
Oh,
Mhm.
Um, we've had it for 20 years, and the guy says, I can't even find the wire. Like it's just disintegrated. Well, apparently our dog has just discovered this because we have brand new neighbors next door. And I got over there this week to meet them and greet them and brought them some gifts and was invited into their house and was talking. And they had a dog and their dog was kind of jumping on me. It was a puppy and they were all embarrassed. And I said, oh, don't worry. I have a dog that is really bad.
Uh-huh.
I said, this is nothing. I'm fine with it. And they said, oh, what kind of dog? And I said, a chocolate lab. And they said, oh, that's your dog. And I thought,
Uh-oh.
what do you mean, my dog? Because we have this invisible fence, it stays in our yard. And they said, oh, yeah, he's over here all the time. The girls had played with him daily. They said, oh, he's been in our house. He's had treats. And
Oh my goodness.
and they said last night he was looking in our back window while we were having dinner.
Oh my goodness.
I was so embarrassed. I said, no, I don't think that could be my dog because he just doesn't leave the yard. And they said, no, it was your dog.
Oh my, your dog has
So
a reputation.
So I thought on the heels of our hospitality podcast, Charlie made it over to the neighbors before I did.
Oh.
He's so friendly.
He loves to meet and greet.
He does. So
And
we're getting that fixed today.
Oh, well, that's really cute. So let's move into today's topic. Julie and I are probably putting it off because we couldn't think of much to say, even though it seems like we've been married forever. We're going to talk about marriage in the middle years today. But before we get started, maybe we should just say how long we have been married. So my husband's name is Steve, and we've been married for 25 years this December. It's our big, I don't know, what is that? It's not your...
Silver.
Oh, it's a silver? Okay, it's our big
Yeah.
silver anniversary.
My husband's name is John, and we have been married 30 years in 2018.
Oh, wow. Is that a special, like, it's not silver or gold. What is it for that year?
I have no idea.
Probably like meatloaf or something like that.
Maybe
Wow.
it's a sports car anniversary.
There you go.
Oh, it's midlife crisis time. That's
Yeah.
what it is.
Oh, we need to have a midlife crisis episode.
For sure. So, Mindy, how long have you been
Okay.
married?
So my husband's name is Bryce, and we have been married. It'll be 22 years in May.
All right. So, combined, help me out with my math, 77.
Wow,
Okay.
we're really old between us.
I know. All right. So, Mindy came up with a great list of questions for Julie and I to think about. But we tried thinking, and our answers might be kind of short. So, this might end up being just the Mindy hour. We don't know.
Goodness. You guys will have so much to share. You just, you need your imagination peaked.
Right.
That's all.
So we decided to start out with the everyday things and just thinking about what are some everyday ways that you can spend time with your spouse in the middle years. And right away, is it terrible that I put walks, driving around to errands, Costco or Sam's Club runs?
That's so funny. Those are on my list.
Are they?
Does Steve know about those things?
Yes, because we
Yes.
laugh because a lot of times we end up picking up stuff at Sam's Club after we've maybe gone out to dinner or something.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. We're the same way. That was the first thing on my list that I put was that we run errands together.
Okay.
Because as you guys know, especially when you still have quite a few children in the house, it's really hard to actually have conversation. It's a different hard than when the kids were little, but it just seems like there's so much business that has to be talked about, or there's so many places the kids have to be if you're still driving them around. Just being able to run an errand, just the two of us, is absolutely time together.
I'm glad to hear that you count that. How about you, Julie?
I do.
If it's on the weekend, we do enjoy running errands together. And I actually have the husband who says, let's go to the mall. But,
Wow.
mainly just to walk around and look,
Uh-huh.
which sounds like
Right.
a really old person thing to do. So we'll do that. And one thing that we've started to do more is to watch television together. And I don't mean sitting down, flipping through the channels. Like that to
Right.
me does not qualify as quality time spent together. But picking a series, like we love all the BBC series like The Crown and Victoria,
Yeah.
some of those kind of shows,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
series like that.
I'll say us too, like when during football season, every Friday night we have a date sitting on the bleachers watching our son play. That's actually fun for us. It's something that we know we're going to go to.
Sure.
Absolutely, those are dates. And then we try to go for walks together. I think that's probably our favorite thing to do. Like
Mhm.
of anything. If we could choose to do anything, it'd be go for a walk.
Oh, well, that's good. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I'm glad to see that I'm not outside the norm then.
No, you're totally normal, or we're all very odd.
Right. What is the biggest obstacle in your marriage during the teenage and children leaving the house stages of parenting? I think this is a great question, and I feel like these obstacles come up on the daily.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. What kind of obstacles are you facing right now, Mindy?
Well, with us having a freshman daughter in college, we have a teenager that's a junior, we've got a middle schooler, and we've got a fifth grader. Well, I've got three boys still in the midst of puberty, just at different stages. And that's a lot of testosterone in our house. There are a lot of stresses right now with just all the business that has to be done. You know, we're trying to help Abby Ray find a car, Grant, we're trying to help him find a job, and we're trying to navigate colleges here in a brand new area. So we don't know anything
Mm.
about this area and the colleges and universities here. Just the worry or anxiety of, is he going to get into the college he wants? What do you want to do when you grow up?
Mhm.
There's life after high school. There's just a lot of business, you know. Then you're talking about retirement accounts and you're talking about 401ks and savings, and there's just a lot. And so it seems like when you're together, there's a lot of business, and it can
Mhm.
easily become your whole existence.
I can see all those obstacles in our marriage too. Julie, what's your biggest obstacle right now, do you think, in your stage of marriage? I know that a couple of your kids are married, you still have one at home, so it might look a little bit different.
Thinking back to when we had teenagers, it was just physically exhausting just because they were up late, often up later than us. I was used to our kids always being in bed early. I hated that they were up after I went to bed. I hated that.
Mhm.
Okay, as the kids get older, I think you move from being physically exhausted to more emotionally exhausted. This isn't true now. I feel like I'm through this point in my life, but initially, there was just a lot of sadness when Molly moved away.
Mhm.
She lives 17 hours away, and I didn't really expect that. And that was just really, really hard. And I was very emotional about it. And John just doesn't really like to deal with emotions. So we kind of got to a point where we just didn't talk about it. And that
Mm.
was really hard because he just didn't know how to make it better for me. And
Mhm.
I didn't either. And so we just didn't talk about it. And so that was a rough time. But I think it just took time. Like we're
Mhm.
through that and things are really good now.
I like watching the fact that you're a little bit ahead of me and have had to work through it a little bit so that I know that, oh yeah, people do come out on the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
very encouraging to know there's life after that, because sometimes I feel like, oh, I'm so ready to get there, you know, but then you're in it and you're like, no, I think I want to go back.
I know. I know.
I know. You want to be on one side or the other, not in the middle of
Yes.
it.
Yes.
Right, that's true. Has your relationship with your spouse changed over the course of your marriage?
Yes, it has changed a lot. Definitely having children together, you know, you grow and you see each other as parents, and then your kids get older and you're dealt new opportunities to see each other as parents in different ways. But one of the things that I love about having a long marriage, especially in today's society, is all of the inside jokes that we have. We have so many memories together that I love recounting our life together. I feel like we have grown up together because I was 18 and he was 20 when we got married. And so all of our adult lives have been together. One of my favorite things, though, is this trust that we have built within each other. We know each other well enough to know what our strengths and weaknesses are. And so as long as we don't use those against one another, it is very helpful in making decisions. Bryce knows that I really glaze over talking about money. Well, he happens to love talking about money. It's
Mhm.
like a hobby for him. now before he starts a conversation, he'll say, "Just give me 10 minutes, Mindy. Just 10 minutes." And I'm like, "Okay, I got you. I can focus and talk about money for 10 minutes." And it's just funny. Like he knows and he
Right.
doesn't hold it against me. It's just one of those things. So I love just the memories, the inside jokes, um, having survived very difficult seasons of life together
Mhm.
just makes you so close. And us having moved so many times, we've been each other's rocks, like we're the only two that kind of know each other. We're the friends, like we're the people that we
Mhm.
hang out together because we don't know anybody else for a while. So I
Mhm.
love that.
Right. I always feel like if I had to get married a second time, one of the biggest downers about it would be that who's ever going to care about all those early stories once your husband's
Yes.
gone? Who's going to
Um,
care about the struggles that you had with newborns or the cute little thing that
right,
your toddler did? Or who's going to care about, that first family vacation or so and so's lost tooth? I mean, there's not going to be anyone else that ever cares about that the way that your children's father does.
right.
Hmm.
And so I always feel like that would be one of the biggest losses. So I do feel like the way that your relationship changes is that you just know each other so much better and you're so intertwined that you can't imagine living your life apart.
Right.
And you're right. You do know all the strengths and weaknesses, and you still get
Right.
probably just as frustrated with them as you did when you first got married at certain points, but you also just know that, well, we will work through this again. I read that married people tend to have like the same 5 arguments
Hmm.
over and over, whichever one your argument is. And we do. We tend to have the same 3 or 4 arguments just in a different form. I don't know if that ever goes away, but I would rather be having those 3 or 4 arguments with him than 3 or 4 arguments with someone else.
That's right.
Right. Right. And I would agree. I think we just know each other better. He's always been who I considered my best friend, but now I feel like I know what he's thinking before he says it. I know from talking to my mom, she, misses my dad. He's passed away now, I think 9 years. And just when she says when something exciting happens, she wants to go tell my dad.
Mm.
And to not have that would just really be hard because that's, John's the first one I call when something exciting happens or something sad happens. I just want to share it with him. And one example of something that I feel like we've matured in is just from knowing each other. Like John likes to dream and plan.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And that always scares me when I hear that coming up because I think it's going to happen like
Right.
right now. You know, he's always talking about now when your car dies, Julie, what car do you want next? And I'm like, I don't want another car. I want this car, you know. But I've learned to just listen and let him dream. Take part in the conversation. Like, oh, I
Right.
think I would want this or this or this, and know that that's just what he enjoys. He likes
Right.
the thinking through it and planning it. And
Yes.
so I used to squelch that,
Mhm.
but now I try to take part in it.
I know. We definitely one of us is a thinker. That would be Bryce. I'm a doer. So
Uh-huh.
one of us is a spender. Not gonna say who. One of us is a saver.
Yeah, us too. Can you guess which one?
Right. And those types of things probably haven't changed over the years. You've
Right.
probably always been the spender and Bryce has always been the saver, but I think that he's probably more patient understanding of your spending and you're more patient understanding of his saving now and you just kind of know those things about each other and know how to work it out.
Marie, I didn't say that I was the one that was the spender. I don't know why you're thinking that's me.
I'm thinking that people that don't like to talk about money are probably
Come
spenders.
on. He even tried to make a color-coded graph to make it interesting for me one time
To grab your attention.
to grab my attention. It didn't work. But I really appreciate him trying.
So we talked about some of our favorite changes. Is there
Yeah.
anything that you guys would like to see get better?
Well, I feel like communication has always been the biggest struggle that we've had, and it's always been the center of all of our arguments. But I would say that is where we've also grown the most. But
Mhm.
yet it's where that's the one thing I think we need to keep working on. John is a good communicator and he likes to leave no stone unturned. And I just want to clam up when it gets uncomfortable, when it's hard, when it's
Right.
emotional. I just want to clam up. And then that would make him angry, So
Right.
then it just got worse. And then I would clam up even more.
Right.
So we've kind of learned to see when that's coming, when it's about to happen, and how to avert that.
Yeah, I think communication is probably always something that needs to get better. I don't know if you ever reach a point where you're communicating perfectly. Steve always says, I don't know what's going on in your head. And I feel like, well, if someone's been married to me 25 years, shouldn't they know how I think by now? Do I really need to say it? But
Exactly.
yes, I do need to say it, even if I don't want to anymore. I think that maybe women are better at this, or maybe I just project what someone's thinking, but I imagine why or how or what's going on in someone's mind, and that's why they're acting that way. Steve just looks at the action
Right.
and doesn't think about why I'm acting that way. And he gets caught up in being mad about how I'm acting instead of looking at why I'm doing that. And I know that I shouldn't be acting bad, but I'm human. Just ignore my tone of voice and angry look right now and think about why is she angry?
I don't know if he's gonna do that.
I know. I don't know if that's really ever gonna get better. I think I'll
Not
probably
gonna
have to. I think I'll probably have to get better.
Maybe you should talk with with a door in between you so he can't see you.
I
say,
feel like John has zero intuition. It's
Right.
just got to be laid out there. He's got to have the cold hard facts. And I just think by now, shouldn't you know that I get upset when or
Mhm.
Right.
and he doesn't, and he'll tell me that. But it's just still hard. One thing I have learned with John is that he doesn't like a lot of details when I'm talking to him.
Mm-hmm.
I always start with all the details, and you can just see
Oh.
him check out. And if he's on the phone, he goes, details, details, too many details. I'm not going to
Oh.
remember any of this, which
Right.
kind of makes me mad because I'm like, you should. I think these details are important. But
Right.
I've learned to kind of try to cut to the main point, and
Right.
then I can go back and fill in all the details later. Because I like the detail. I get, those are important to me, but he gets lost and he won't remember the main point, what I'm trying to tell.
It takes a long time to learn those communication styles and
Yes.
what is going to work the best with certain people. And that just comes with time in any marriage.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. But the same with how you argue or disagree.
Mhm.
Like there is a way to have an argument with wisdom. And we have had to learn how to disagree or argue in a good way, not in a way that tears each other down. He's coming from a family situation where they argue a particular way. My family situation argued a very different way. So, when you're first married, the first time you see that, you're just like, well, there's no way we can communicate. There's no way we're going to get through this because you're doing this and I'm doing this, and we're completely separate. So we've had to grow in having a good argument.
Yes, definitely. And one
It
of
is
the things,
the skill set.
yeah, like earlier I said that sometimes I just clam up and walk away. And sometimes I still need to do that, but I need to say to him, I need to walk away
Right.
and think about this and I'll get back with you because I have to process things. I'm not really good at even knowing myself what I'm thinking
Mhm.
and
Right.
certainly not ready to say anything. So I used to just walk away. And in my mind, I was thinking, okay, he knows what I'm doing. But
Right.
he was like, "Where are you? Why did you walk out of the room?" He got a totally different message. He thought I wasn't interested in talking. He thought I was ignoring him or he wasn't important. But in my mind,
Right.
I was going to gather my thoughts. But he still needs me to even tell him that. Still.
Yes. Yeah, even after being married all these years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the type of person that needs a little bit of time to stew, and I find that I would rather almost argue by text. Like, I would
Right.
rather write out my thoughts and feelings. They come out better than
Mhm.
if I just try and say them. And I think that's something that you can also learn about your spouse is they may not be good face-to-face arguing, but maybe they're better if you argue over the phone or if you argued by text or if you take a little time in between. There's all different kinds of communication styles.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes Steve and I will be arguing by text and he'll try to call and I'll hit decline because I don't want to talk about it. I want to write about it.
Well, it seems like you said that texting might be very healthy for you and Steve because then you don't have the tone of voice or the look on your face
I
that
think
he's
that's
trying
true.
to overcome.
That's true, because I was going to say, like they say that 92% of communication is body
Is your
language,
body language.
which
Yeah.
is, I would think helpful. But in your case, it might be that that's what you
No,
want to
I
avoid.
know because I'm
If you're
such an
rolling your
emotional person. All my emotion is you can read it all on my face, in my body language, and sometimes my emotional language is even stronger than really how I feel. Like they probably think I feel stronger about it than I do just by the way that my tone of voice is and how animated I am. Whereas if I just wrote it out, then they
Right.
could see, oh, well, these are the things that she's upset about, and here's what she's looking for.
That's a good point, because I know my husband tends to talk loudly. His dad was deaf, or
Mm.
mostly deaf, and wore
Mhm.
hearing aids. So John just talks loud. And so my kids would always think he was mad. We always said, "Why are you mad?" And he said, "I'm not mad." And he would just get louder and louder. "I'm not mad." You know. So that was just a misreading his
His
Right.
body
body
language and
language.
tone. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's so interesting. Well, bringing it up from let's wondering what we should get better. Let's move on to something a little more
Yes.
edifying here. What are some
There
of
you
your
go.
favorite date ideas?
Okay, I'll start with some of these we have done, and some of these are on the bucket list of what we should be doing, because we're kind of in that phase where we're trying to figure out this next
Mhm.
phase of life.
Right.
Nashville has a ton of new restaurants. So I said we need to, every time we want to go out to eat, pick a new restaurant that's not a chain,
Mm.
not one of your old Brentwood standbys that we always end up at. We could eat for a year and never repeat a restaurant.
Right,
I think
right.
that would be really
Right.
cool.
Sure.
And I heard of an idea once to maybe go on a quest for the city's best burger, or the city's best pizza, or
Oh.
the city's best
Mhm.
coffee,
Mhm.
and rank them, because he and my son kind of do that with steakhouses all over the country. They've got them all ranked, and I think it'd be kind of fun to go and try them out together. And
Mhm.
you don't
Yeah.
have to agree on which ones you like, but just
And you guys have really strong feelings about food. Like
I guess that's why I thought that would be fun, ranking them.
like if we've ever been going on a trip and we might say where we're going, I think the Kings almost always have a suggestion on where to eat. I don't really even remember the names of restaurants in cities that I've been, but you guys really remember those. And so that's a point of connection for you guys. I can definitely see how visiting all the different restaurants would be fun for you guys. And I think you should put out a little booklet for people like me who just wants to know where is the best burger.
Yeah, I mean, that's what, when anybody asks us for advice on a trip, we usually start with the food, because it's the highlight of being there for us.
Uh-huh.
Some other things we've done is we've gone to Nashville has a good Oktoberfest. We like German food and music.
Mm-hmm.
We always go to the Greek festival
Okay.
near our church. We've been to an Italian festival, and then now we have a Japanese cherry blossom festival. So you get to try all this new food and experience that culture. We like doing that. We like to go to, like, one night Franklin had a park that featured food trucks. All the food trucks were gathered in one park, and that was really fun.
Oh, yeah, that would be fun.
Noticing food is a common theme.
Yes. I'm getting hungry.
One thing we've talked about, I think this would be fun, is to become hockey fans, like get season tickets.
Oh,
So we had a
yeah.
place to go every week, and get caught up in that whole
Mm-hmm.
being a fan, because that's really popular in Nashville right now. Or get theater tickets,
Mm-hmm.
season tickets. I think that would be fun. And one thing I read, I think I want to implement this, is to get John more involved, because he likes for me to plan it, but every once in a while it would be nice if he did
Right.
some of the planning. So I heard that it might be fun to maybe take turns planning the date and not telling the other person what you're going to do. Make it a surprise.
Right. And then judge each other on who did a better job.
Oh,
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
Judge by text.
Well, you might try to top the other one then, like, like, oh,
Yeah.
you did a really fun one, so I've got to keep,
Yeah.
keep my game.
Yeah. No, that is a really good idea. Mindy, what did you have for fun date
Right.
ideas?
Well, that gives me hope because we are still so into child rearing right now
Mhm.
that it's nice to hear Julie's ideas because there's something to look forward to. So I think right now, because we are so involved with child rearing still, that when Bryce and I have an opportunity to go do something together, we're looking to cut down the stimuli and just be in nature. And
Mhm.
so all last year, we had a standing date day and we would go and try a new trail to hike.
Oh,
That's when we lived in East Tennessee. And so we would hike different trails and we would try a new restaurant.
that's nice.
And it was so much fun because as much as I like getting dressed up, I have found that I really like to just be active.
Mhm.
And we love to just go outside and we'll walk or we'll run but it gives us a chance to really talk and, make fun of each other and
Right. Have those
and
conversations
just have
where no one's
conversation.
interrupting you.
Yes, but being outside together is one of our absolute favorite things to do. We love to eat too, so trying new restaurants is definitely fun. And honestly, the good old standby of if there's a really good movie out, we love
Mhm.
to go see a movie. But let me preface it with this. We have to be home by like 8:30 or 9 or
Or Bryce
we're
can't make it.
we are going to dinner with the old people at 4 o'clock and we're going to that early movie.
You're probably saving some money too. The early bird special, the
Yes.
matinee.
Yes. Hey, we're all about, hey, I have learned that we're living on a budget. It doesn't matter how much we make. So
Uh-huh.
if we have a coupon or
Right, right.
and and ice cream is one of our favorite foods. I'll
Mhm.
say actually Bryce's favorite food of all time is ice cream.
Okay.
And so we love to go out and get ice cream together, especially after we've hiked or walked a long way.
Mhm.
Those are good ideas. Really good. How can we be intentional about continuing to grow in our marriages as we finish with parenting our children? I mean, obviously, going on dates and spending time together is one of the ways that we can be intentional, but what are some other things that you guys have seen yourselves start to try and improve your marriage or continue its success as you finish with parenting?
Well, I think the word intentional is the important part of that question, that a good marriage never just happens, that
Right.
you do have to be intentional. And I feel like right now my marriage is on good, solid ground, but I also want it to stay that way.
Right.
So I can't just be on autopilot. We have to continue to talk and be honest when there's something that's going wrong or not working out the way we thought it would. And so we just this week had this conversation. Like I said, John comes home, he's pretty exhausted, and he'll want to just take his dinner and eat up on the couch.
Mhm.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, I really want to have dinner at the table. And he's like, I need a soft chair.
Right.
And so sometimes I'll just let him go upstairs. He goes, I just need to relax. And then I'll stay downstairs and finish some work on the computer or finish doing a project. And then it's 10 o'clock and I still haven't seen him all day.
Mm.
So I've realized that just being upstairs with him is good time. And not to think, oh, just because he wants to watch TV doesn't want to be with me. Like we need to be more intentional about that because otherwise we're just kind of both busy, but not busy with each other.
Mhm.
Just kind of becoming the two ships that pass in the night thing. And so we've had that conversation. And I think what we would like to do is, and I actually talked with a friend this week, and she said this is kind of how she and her husband have worked through this phase is having kind of set nights of the week where, okay, this is going to be the night we have dinner at the table. And then that
Mm.
frees you up. We don't have to do it that way the rest of the week.
Sure.
Then I'm not all bent out of shape that we're never having dinner at the table. But I know one night we are.
Mhm.
One night we can watch TV. One
Mhm.
night we can go out. One night he's going to work late, and that could be the night I have dinner with a friend. We've been used to these schedules our whole life,
Mhm.
and now we don't have a schedule. So, and I still need that, even if
Mhm.
it's scheduling just fun things.
Sure.
I like to kind of know what's coming up.
Mm-hmm.
next. So I think that's going to help us is to try to create a routine even with our free time.
Mindy, how about you? What are you doing to be intentional about growing your
Yes.
marriage?
Well, I have to say the very first thing I'll say is you really have to pray for it. It has to be a pursuit, a daily pursuit. You're never going to hit a point in a long marriage where you're just good, where you're just coasting. Marriage is so daily. Every time you think, oh, yeah, this is great, we're in a good place, well, something will happen. And then you think, oh, okay, well, we still need to work on this.
Sure.
And so I would just say, not to always trust, again, your feelings or emotions, but to really pray for your spouse, to pray for his career, to be involved in it, to take time to have a conversation about your day. I would add that you need to dream together.
Mm.
And this isn't all the time, but sometimes, when you're out for a walk together or when you do have time to just talk. I remember Bryce and I, when we were newlyweds, would go to Steak and Shake, and we would turn the paper over on the table, and we would draw a picture of what we wanted our life to look like in 5 years.
Mm.
And then sometimes we'd draw what do we want our life to look like in 10 years. Well, we have kept some of those drawings and our keepsakes from Steak and Shake, those early newlywed date nights,
That's
where
neat.
all we could afford was one milkshake that we would split between us.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say that we still need to dream together, to continue to say, what do we want our life to look like in 5 years? What do we want our life to look like in 10 years? There's a lot of time left.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, and I think you need to have those conversations or it will just sneak up on you.
yes.
So that's good. Yeah, I agree with both you and Julie just about the intentional aspect and talking about it, dreaming about it, thinking about it, not leaving it just to chance or just to
Right.
whatever happens. And sometimes
Right.
the conversation kind of hits a dead end, like neither of us has any ideas because we can't see the
Right.
future, but just kind of to keep those lines of communication open and to keep talking about it. Do you think there are certain triggers for you that are stressful during these years? I know I was thinking that the biggest triggers that are stressful to us are constant busyness. And this is probably just true of every stage of life because when your kids are little you think, "Oh, I'm always busy." And when they grow up, I won't be as busy, but that's not true. You are just constantly busy. And then also, I think finances. I think finances at this time of life are a stressor. And people that have only been married a short time, finances are stressful at that time too. So I think those
Yes.
two factors are probably stressors throughout every stage of marriage.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're thinking about retirement. You're paying for college. You might have a parent that's needing your help. So there's just a lot going on. So for me, I think goes back to emotional energy. It's a very emotional time.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like when they were little, not so much. It was mostly physical, but now it's takes a lot more emotional energy than it did.
But I'll say, even, another trigger is just, a bad day at work, a
Mm-hmm.
bad day with the kids. Maybe you feel unhappy in your current circumstances. Maybe you feel hopeless, in a certain situation, especially when a situation is not lifted right away and you have to kind of find a place of contentment with a difficult circumstance, because
Mm.
that's going to happen. You're going to have years where you don't like what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And to be able to handle those as a couple on the same team, like I said, it's both of you against the circumstance, not the circumstance in the middle of you two.
Right. What's the best piece of advice you'd give someone about marriage after 20, 25, 30 years?
My kids kind of laugh at me because they think this sounds so unromantic. But I just always say, sure, there's the attraction, there's the romance part of it, but marriage is really hard
Hmm.
and it's a lot of overcoming obstacles, a lot of facing challenges, a lot of adjusting and compromising and just hanging on, never letting go. And I know that, you know, I don't know that people like to hear that, but it's true.
Hmm.
And nobody's perfect. you are going to just have to put up and overlook some flaws that your
Mhm.
spouse has, because believe me, they're doing that for you too. They're doing that for me too. It goes
Mhm.
both ways,
Right.
you know? I don't know. I think when you're young, you just think everything's going to be perfect and your person is perfect, or there's one perfect person for you.
Right.
But it's just somebody you're going to, well, don't say that.
Just
I,
somebody you're
I,
going to put up with.
yeah, and I used to tell my kids that. I said, you've got to find somebody that you can put up with their stuff, because you're going to put up with it with anybody. But they just laugh and they're like, oh, Mom, that's so encouraging.
Sometimes you have to be realistic.
I mean, I don't know that I would want to say that, because it makes it sound like I'm putting up with John, but
No.
I'm just saying everybody has stuff you're just going to have to deal with.
It's
Right.
And so
true.
find the person you're willing to do that with. That's what I wanted
Right.
to say.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, that's so
Yes,
funny.
for sure.
The best piece of advice, though, that I could give you, I would think, of course, I'm only a couple years after that 20-year mark, but just to continue to plan together, to dream together, like I said before, finding a new hobby together, continuing to discover new things about one another. I like what Julie said about planning to go to new restaurants, but just thinking about how can we have fun. What are some things that we both would like to try? I know one time Bryce got me ballroom dancing lessons for Christmas,
Oh, cute.
and it was just something different. It was just something new that we could do together. One time we played co-ed volleyball together, and that was a date night that we did. So just continuing to choose one another every day.
I agree with you guys just about the ups and downs over a marriage of 20 years. Julie, I can totally see what you're trying to tell your kids, that there's going to be times that you like your spouse and there's going to be times that you don't. And that is just true. But overall, if you stick with it, time brings its own rewards. You make so many memories and you have so much invested in family life and career choices and moves and all the things that you've done together, that it's a glue that will hold you together if you let it. This was sort of the same type of question, but I really liked it because I actually have a newlywed daughter. If you could
Mhm.
go back in time and give your newlywed self some advice, what would it be? And I would just say to enjoy each stage. I think it's easy when you're first married to think, oh, I can't wait till we have our first house, or oh, I can't wait till I have my first job, or we get our new car, or whatever. But each stage has its own advantages and disadvantages, because the more things you acquire, then the more you're responsible for and the more you have to take care of. So when you're in this newlywed stage, you don't have a lot of responsibilities and you really get to enjoy each other and this time in a way that you'll never be able to again. At
Right.
least that I've experienced yet, because once you start getting a house and moving up in your career and doing all that, it just comes with more busyness, more time, more of everything else.
Mhm.
That's good advice.
My advice was very similar. I added a couple of things, especially with social media right now. Be your own couple. Keep your eyes on each other instead of maybe looking around at what everybody else is doing or has, and along with that, be a good steward of your money. I would say do not start your marriage in debt. Try not to saddle yourself with debt and thinking that you need a bigger house or you need a newer car. Even if you can't afford to go on as many vacations as you want, finding contentment with each other and the simple things that we've all said that we now enjoy doing with our spouses are actually pretty simple. We really didn't say that we do these grand things together. And so, as a young couple, though, sometimes you feel like you're supposed to do those things. And so maybe you'll spend money that you don't have. Also, I encourage those young couples to pray with one another. Go to church together. Make that a priority in your new family. Mhm.
And I can't say enough about how I agree with not being in debt.
Mm-hmm.
I think debt really can cause a lot of stress and strain in a marriage. And I think it's a source for a lot of tension and stress in a lot of marriages today. And I know my daughter's mentioned that, just looking at social media and seeing other
Right,
couples that are her age taking
right.
these fabulous vacations and already buying a house. And
Right.
just feeling like you're behind. And,
Mhm.
I've said that you just can't look at that
Right.
because
It
you'll
only
never be happy. There'll always be somebody at
It's
every
true.
stage that has more.
It's true.
What is something you hope to accomplish with your spouse in the next year?
There is a marriage enrichment class at a church, Fellowship Bible Church here in town that
Mm.
I heard about, and I think it's like a 16-week course.
Mhm.
And I've talked to John about it, and he thought it would be a good idea. So I really want to do that maybe in the fall because we used to do things like that when we were newly married, go to a couples retreat or whatever, and we haven't done anything like that in a long time.
Mhm.
And I would love to go on a mission trip together.
Oh, that would
I
be
don't I
good.
don't think we've each been on separate mission trips, but not together.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
I love that. I know. Well, we are still adjusting to a new environment. We have now been in Pennsylvania for 3 months. Woohoo! And and so I just hope that in the next year that we become even financially more free. I'm looking forward to selling our home in Tennessee and downsizing
Mhm.
when we buy something here in Pennsylvania. I'm looking forward to helping Bryce just, grow in his job and us grow in this new place. There's so many places that we have that we want to visit that we're close to now. I'm really looking forward to all of the weekend trips that we can take together.
Mhm. That's good. I put IDK.
Nice.
I don't know why my mind draws a blank. I feel like at this stage in my life, I just am only able to hold on day to day. And I think if you talk
Mhm.
to Steve, he would say that too. Like we are so busy dealing with the things that come our way day to day, it's hard to imagine what we hope to accomplish in the next year.
Well, and you are accomplishing a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. One thing I heard on a podcast this week and I thought, "Oh, that is so true." She has a daughter that's married and she has a son that's a senior and she was talking to two women who have littler kids. And I don't know, I think they might have asked her what her advice was or what was different about older kids. And one of the things she said was when you have little kids, you can't wait to get out of the house. Any opportunity for a mom's night, for a Bible
Mhm.
study, for a chance to go out to dinner, like you're really anxious to get out of the house. When you have older kids, it's like, oh, I don't want to go anywhere. I want to spend this time with them because I know my time is so limited and they've become fun. They've become
Right.
more adult like and you do things that you enjoy together. So I feel like in this stage, I'm just kind of holding on and trying to savor the kids that I have at home and building memories and doing things with them and enjoying my adult children and just kind of living with my blinders on right now because
Right.
I feel like I'm really enmeshed. I know other things are coming around the corner, but I don't know what they are. So it's hard for me to think, what do I want to accomplish in the next year?
Right. Well, it's a season. It's a busy season still. I mean, you have a child married, a child in college, and 3 teenagers.
Yes. Yes. And
So,
it is busy. And like Julie said, sometimes it's maybe not even busy in a physical way, but it's busy in an emotional way. So
right,
your headspace is taken up a lot of the time.
Yeah.
right.
So we will accomplish some things, but I don't know what they'll be.
I love it.
You can share next December what those things.
Right. What did we accomplish in the last year?
Right. We survived.
Friends, we're so glad you joined us today. We'd love to hear your questions and comments about today's episode or any suggestions you have for future topics. You can find us at Midlife Matters Podcast on both Facebook and Instagram. You can also contact us on our website, midlifematterspodcast.com. We hope you'll join us next week for a short episode on the day after Christmas. See you then.